introduce tonight's guest for Pillow Talk. She's one of Go Magazine's Women We Love for 2013, rightfully so. And she is also a contributor to the award-winning New York Times best-selling comic anthology, FUBAR, Empire of the Rising Dead, as well as FUBAR, American History Z, and Vic Boone, Bourbon and Buckshot anthologies. She is a graphic novel instructor for Grub Street and writes nonfiction features for the educational website infoplease.com. She's also the author of Flutter, her latest comic series. Tonight, Satin Lounge, please help me welcome writer and comic creator JENNIE Wood. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I am super uber fluttery excited that you're here. I love your novel. I love it. I love the comic, the direction. Let me say, I just love your mind and the choices that you have made, in my opinion, to subliminally address the plight of the different, sometimes being defined as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, etc. Is that, in a nutshell, what your comic series Flutter is all about, the plight of the different? How would you describe it?
That's exactly. I mean, I think you nailed it there. I wanted to explore someone who felt different, felt uncomfortable in her skin, and had the opportunity to shapeshift and see the world from a different point of view, from the point of view of a boy. And then she learns that being a boy is just as difficult. It's different, but it's just as difficult. And I wanted to then play around with how society treats a boy differently from a girl. And I wanted her to see that and learn that no matter what skin you're in and no matter what gender you are still going to have a difficult time. And that is Lily and Flutter, the protagonist. That's her journey, and that's what she learns. And just wanted really anyone who's ever felt uncomfortable in their skin. And I think most of us, whether we're gay, straight, bisexual, we when we're in junior high or high school, at some point we feel uncomfortable with
high
who we are.
school is torture for everyone.
Right. I mean, maybe,
it's boot camp for...
Right. There's always that period where you try on different things, especially if you fall in love with a girl or a boy and you want them so much to like you at that age.
Right.
You will try out for cheerleading or basketball or band just to get their attention. And I wanted to play around with that using the old shapeshifter thing in comics.
It had those special powers to shift back and forth between genders.
Right. That's exactly what it is. And it's used, probably the most famous example in comics is Mystique in X-Men.
Okay.
And you can see it in the movies.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence is playing
that's
in the most recent movie.
Yeah.
And so she, can just change into a different person. She could run into you on the street and walk around the corner and change into you.
Right.
That's what I wanted to use. I didn't want it to just be about that and overuse that or use it as a gimmick. So Lily in Flutter, she also learns to play guitar to impress a girl and do all these things. But I wanted to use that in a way to show... for a character to experience what it's like to be in another body, in another gender.
We all do things to impress girls. You mentioned learn how to play the guitar. Did you do that? Did you do that growing up?
I did.
I know.
My mother put me in piano lessons, and at some point as a teenager, I realized I was always around my boy cousins, and they were all in bands, and they always had girls come see those bands.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to get more girls.
It's a calling card, I'll tell you. Those folks in the arts can kind of pull, Well, we can shapeshift a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Actors fall into acting. I recently saw an interview with Liam Neeson, and he got started in, elementary or junior high school because he had a crush on a girl who was doing theater. Right.
I think a lot of folks in the arts also use it as a place to belong because it seems to be more accepting when people are creative. They're a little different. They're artsy fartsy, and when it comes to sexuality, I think we're a little more accepting in the arts. It's just my opinion.
Definitely. No, you're definitely right.
So why the Flutter? Why did you choose to call it Flutter?
It was initially going to be titled Flutter Girl. Yeah, Chris Cornell, the frontman from Soundgarden, released a solo record, and I really love that song, Flutter Girl. Partly because I'm a musician, a lot of my writing is inspired by songs. All the chapters in Flutter are named after song titles. So it was initially going to be called Flutter Girl. And a friend of mine who is a mentor, Jorge Vega, he writes comics. He's like, no, you should just call it Flutter because it's more than just about her. It's this whole world. And I started thinking about it, and she's going to shapeshift and move around as different characters. And I've just finished writing Volume 2, and she definitely does start playing around with shapeshifting into more than just this boy. And also, it's really, the whole thing starts when she meets a girl who makes her heart go aflutter.
A flutter,
So
yes.
I felt like that title then pulled back and was broader than Flutter Girl.
Sure.
It captured the whole essence of it.
Sure. You mentioned that you're on Volume 2. We're able to see Volume 1, Hell Can't Wait. It's the first release. So is this a trilogy? How many volumes are going to be a part of this one?
I planned it as a trilogy. I finished Volume 2 with a whole character arc that kind of wraps up a lot that I started in Volume 1 so that the reader can have hopefully a satisfying read. That's my goal. And I just sent it to the artist, Jeff McComsey, and he will probably take the next year and work on it. So we'll have it out at some point next year. And then around the time we release Volume 2, I'll start playing around with Volume 3 with the script.
Great. Lots to look forward to. If you're just joining us, we are pillow talking with tonight's guest, JENNIE Wood, who is a creative soul, a comic creator and a writer. She's teamed up with Jeff McComsey for her novel, Flutter, or I should say comic series, which will be a trilogy for us to digest very soon. Now, you and Jeff have worked on other projects before. FUBAR, is that correct? You've worked
FUBAR,
together?
yes. FUBAR is Jeff's baby. That is the concept he came up with. It's basically taking actual historic events from World War II or from American history and infusing zombies into the story. And for FUBAR, Empire of the Rising Dead, I took an actual event, the USS Indianapolis, which sank in the ocean, and it ended up being the largest shark attack in history, and I also included zombies. And Georgie's Choice is the name of that story, and it's a play on Sophie's Choice. You got to make those pop culture references, especially in a project like this. It's lighthearted. You know, we're taking actual moments of history and putting zombies in them. So you just got to have fun with it.
And making them fucked up beyond recognition. I get it.
That's FUBAR.
Absolutely, I get it. How different was this project working with Jeff? Was it the same? You pretty much have a rhythm together, or was it something unique that you created with Flutter?
Flutter was great working with Jeff because, writing the script and spending months doing that, I create a world in my head, and Jeff knew exactly what I was going for. And a lot of the art was exactly what was in my head, and when it wasn't, it was even better. And there were some pages and panels he'd create where dialogue wasn't even needed. He's great to work with. It's all about elevating the project. It was just a great working experience with him.